Hi, how are you doing? I'm doing great, kind of. But today we're doing another series discussion video. This time for the Shadow of the Fox series by Kagawa. This is why I say I'm doing great, kind of, because this series has been on my currently reading for a while. I've been meaning to finish the series up for quite some time, and I finally did it. So therefore, I'm feeling great. However, I wasn't the biggest fan of this series, and I know it's extremely popular, so therefore my opinion on it is extremely unpopular, and therefore I am not excited. This whole video, in case you have never seen any of my series discussions before, this whole video is going to be spoiler free, so don't worry. But yeah, let's start with an overall synopsis of this series. So in this world, this is a YA fantasy trilogy, and in this world, every 1,000 years or so, this dragon can be summoned throughout this like multiple step process that that will grant one wish, like your greatest wish in life. And at the start of this novel, the time has come again where a couple of weeks, months removed from these 1,000 years being over and this dragon being able to be summoned again. And we follow Yumiko. If I mispronounce any of these characters' names, I'm so incredibly sorry. But we follow Yumiko, who as a baby was found in a temple and therefore has been raised in a temple. She doesn't know who her parents are. And the temple she grew up in the start of the novel gets burned down because in this temple there is one of the 3 scrolls necessary to be able to summon the dragon. But before anyone can perish, Yumiko is actually sent away with the scroll from the temple to kind of like bring it to safety. And then we also follow Tatsumi, who is a samurai, and he's kind of tasked with finding the 3 scrolls at any cost. And he comes across Yumiko, and they end up needing to work together to succeed at both of their goals. But let's get into my ranking of these books. On the 3rd place, we have Night of the Dragon, which is the last book in the series. In the 2nd place, we have Shadow of the Fox, which is the 1st book. And then at the number 1 spot, my favorite from the series is Soul of the Sword, which is book 2, obviously, because that's the only one we had left. So let's delve into some individual reviews for each of these books, so you can understand why the ranking is the way that it is and what I thought of the series. Of course, we're starting off with book 1, which is Shadow of the Fox, which I give 5 stars to. This one, I generally really wanted to like this series, so when I finished this book, I was just really disappointed in myself that it only was a 3-star. But I do understand with this one why other people would like it. The reason why it didn't really work for me is that I feel like it has a very video game-like structure where you have this overarching quest you need to accomplish. But at every village you stop, you get like a side quest that you quickly have to do, and there's more people joining the team, and then you go to the next village and then you have to do a different side quest and more people are joining the team. You know, it's kind of like that, and it just made for an extremely boring reading experience to me. And I do understand if that is like a structure that sounds interesting to you in a book and that you would like you would love it as a book generally, but for me it didn't work, and I just never really gelled with the story because of that, and therefore to me it was a slow and boring read, and therefore I was just really sad that it didn't end up working for me the way it did for other people. So yeah, I also felt like this book had non-distinctive POVs. So the main POVs are Yumiko and Tatsumi, but you do get the occasional POV from someone else, and I just feel like at no point was it ever very distinctive, and it's first person, and it made it so confusing for me, because when I was like switching to a chapter, I was like, wait a second, this doesn't add up. And it took me such a long time to kind of figure out which POV I was in and what was going on, and I just feel like we could have made a bit more distinctive voices, especially with Yumiko and Tatsumi. They are very different people, so like it doesn't make sense that they're in a monologue sounds the same, but that was the case for this book. And that's also, I've read a lot of Kagawa by this point. That's never what it should have happened with the books. Like I have very, as much as I love her books, I have found some things that I found in every one of her books, and I just learned to deal with because I do like her books. But normally her POVs are very distinctive. I don't know why it's an issue in this one. And yeah, I do think that towards the end of this novel there were a lot of exciting twists and turns, and that made me excited to keep reading, because I feel like otherwise, if that wasn't the case, I probably would have like not continued on with the series. Then the 2nd book, of course, is Soul of the Sword, which I also gave 2 out of 5 stars to. And this one to me suffered a bit from 2nd book syndrome, as I felt like a whole lot happened, and I only also cared for one of the POVs within this book, because the 2 main POVs are doing different things in this book, and I only cared for one of those. So that also made this a bit more of a boring read, because I didn't care for what was happening in the half of this book. But I do think the characters get a bit more developed in this book, and I like the friendships that kind of come to be with a group of characters, because at this point no one is joining again. We've got a crew. We don't have someone joining every other city. We got a crew for most of this book, so we got more time to kind of like see their dynamics and their friendships, and that is an aspect I didn't really like about this book, which is why it kind of came above the first one for me. But they're like neck and neck for me. I kind of feel similar about them both. But yeah, we do also in this book kind of start to go the romance route, not yet fully, but we are getting like major hints towards like romance incoming, and I do not care. I could not care less about these two people getting together, so that's also something in there. And then lastly, of course, we have Night of the Dragon, which I give 2 out of 5 stars to. And I do have to say, Shadow of the Fox and Soul of the Sword are like within a month's time of each other, and then Night of the Dragon 2 years later, because I could not get myself to pick up this book because I didn't really care that much anymore about the series. But I did want to finish it really badly because I wanted to know what was going to happen in some sense, and also just to have that completionist mindset, you know. But it took me a really long time to do this, and I do think that might have played a little bit into my enjoyment of this novel, that it's been too long. But to be fair, I very quickly kind of like picked up on the things that I was missing. I just feel like if I read this in quick succession to book 1 and 2, I would have had a bit more attachment to the characters and would have liked it just a tad bit more, and it could have been also a 3-star. But I do stand by the fact that no matter what, I think this would have been my least favorite of the series, because I think this honestly could be a really epic finale. If you are invested in the characters in this world and everything, this could be so incredibly epic. But I never really was to that extent. And that's also why I say if I maybe read the books back to back more and didn't leave such a long gap, I might have liked it just a tad bit more, because there would have been a bit more attachment to the characters than there was now. But I never really cared, in case that wasn't obvious from my review for book 1 and 2. I never really cared that much and never really got me super invested. So therefore, this also just kind of fell flat, because I feel like this book was just going from one battle scene to the next, and then to the final big one. And I've never cared for battle scenes, and also in particular Julie Kagawa's battle scenes I've never cared for. Again, this is a consistent that I found in her books, is that her battle scenes just aren't very engaging to me. And this comes from someone who already doesn't think battle scenes are engaging, but you know, I've read some books where the battle scenes are engaging, but just not for Julie Kagawa's books. So the fact that that book was just that was already like in its downfall for me. But then also I just feel like, I don't know, the epicness of the finale never really fully hit to me, because I didn't care. And it does go there. I want to warn you, if you plan on getting invested in a series, this one gets brutal towards the end. That's all I'll say, because I don't want to spoil anything, but I feel like it's the most brutal of Julie Kagawa series that I've read so far, that the ending. And yeah, again, also, don't really do romance. We go in there this time. And it's not like a major part of the books, it's not like a very big complaint, but we do go there in this one, and I'm just like, I genuinely don't give a shit. So yeah, those are my individual thoughts on each book, so let's go to a overall thoughts wrap up of the series. So yeah, something I found with Julie Kagawa books is that her concepts are extremely interesting. I like what she comes up with, but like also a couple of Julie Kagawa books I've read before, it fell flat for me, this series. And I do think this series is for someone, just not for me. And I'm so incredibly sad that it didn't end up working for me, because I can't say that these 3 books are objectively bad, because they're not. As I've said throughout the individual reviews, there are elements that I can see, if you are a different type of reader, you'll love these. Like, I understand the hype for these so badly. It just did not work for me, and I find it so upsetting. Also, think that this didn't necessarily need to be a trilogy. I feel like this could have been condensed to like a duology or something, because there are like stretches in which like nothing really happens, and I feel like it just weren't really necessary. I do think the world again is incredibly interesting, and I kind of wanted more of that, because I feel like we are so locked into kind of like the journey our characters go on, that we see like little glimpses of the world because we do travel, but we don't really fully get into things. And I do wish we got a little bit more of that, like some more world building or more depth to that world. I feel like that could have got me a bit more invested in this, but who knows. I did quite like the cast of side characters. I find it really hard to care for our 2 main characters, although I did like Yumiko more than Tatsumi, I have to say that. Although I do think Tatsumi has a more interesting storyline than Yumiko, but I like Yumiko more than Tatsumi. That doesn't make sense. But I really like the side characters, and again, I feel like I wanted more from them, and I wanted them to be more developed, because I do feel like Tatsumi and Yumiko are 3-dimensional characters. I don't feel like the side characters are that way at all. They're 1-dimensional, and I wanted a bit more from them, and from the dynamics and the friendships. I also, like mentioned before, I think the romance is atrociously developed, and I hate it. I do think it's Julie Kagawa's attempt at a slow burn, because one of my main complaints of Julie Kagawa books is that she just writes herself. She's like, these characters meet and are instantly in love with each other, and we're doing no development. And in this book, we did not get that, but we also did not get development. I feel like this was her attempt at a slow burn, as it takes to like the second book for the characters to even acknowledge that they have feelings for each other to themselves, and then the third book for them to actually get together, which is like slow burn for Julie Kagawa, but like still no development was being made. And yeah, like I said, I wanted to like it so much. It just was not for me, not at all. Like nothing about the series was for me, sadly enough, and I hate that. I really do. I really want to do this. Like I said, I understand what other people do. It just, the structure of it and everything just was not made for me. And yeah, that is everything I have for you today. Let me know in the comments what you thought of these books if you've read them. I'll definitely go into spoilery depths. I'd love to discuss this with you as much as I still remember. I remember the broad strokes. I don't remember details. But I would love to discuss things with you if you want to in the comments. So leave your comment with your thoughts down below. Just if you're going into spoilers, leave a little spoiler warning at the top of your comments so people who are watching this video but have not read the books yet know not to read your comments. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye. Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated?